Something I've been looking into is daycares for my son. And I'm starting to wonder, is daycare all about the bells and the whistles from a kid's point of view, or is it about the bells and the whistles for the parent? Now, I had my eye rather on this daycare that they were building for, I guess, probably a year. It opened up a couple months ago, and I said, okay, when my son gets ready to turn 3, I will start touring. And so he's basically almost at that time. Next month, a month from now, he'll be 3. And so Friday, I set up a tour this past Friday to go look at 2 different daycares. So the first one had all the bells and the whistles. I mean, it was obviously brand new because I just mentioned they were building it. Brand new, everything was bright and cheery. There were pictures all over the walls, like, kitty pictures and pictures of animals like elephants and just different things, fire trucks, things to get kids engaged. Because my son was like, "Oh wow, oh my gosh!" Like he wanted to get down immediately and like touch the walls and play. They had a brand new spanking playground in the back that he wanted to go out there and play. The owner let him go out there and play. Like he was excited to be in the space because everything looked new. The classrooms, of course, were very large, kept a lot of kids in there. So I was looking like, okay, we're trying to count the kids, like how many kids are in this room. So when it came time to go to the owner's office, we were talking to her, and I said, how many kids are in this class? Because right now he's 2, but in a month from now he'll be 3. And she said, well, he would start in the first class for the 2 year olds if he started this week, and then he would eventually get bumped up to the 3 year old class. And I was like, okay, but how many kids are in the class? And she said we take up to 30. Okay, but how many kids are actively in the class right now? So I think that day there was like 18 or something like that. However, they are currently doing enrolling and having enrollment process, so they can take up to 30 kids in a class. So that was a bit alarming to me, although the place was absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. I saw the brochures. I keep looking at the brochure because it's just shiny and new, and just it's someplace that you would feel, okay, well, if I send my kid here, it's clean to a certain degree because it's new. And from the outside, and of course on the inside, it's very attractive. And so, anyhow, we talked to the owner, and then I had to go because we had a second appointment to look at a second daycare. So I get my son out of there, get him in the car. We go over to the second daycare. My daughter's with us. Again, I mentioned she just turned 7. And so she thought the first daycare was nice. She's like, oh my God, this is so nice. And for the summers, I can come here too, because the owner was telling her, oh, when you're out of school for the summer, you can come here. We take siblings and, we turn it into like a camp for the summers. So my daughter was like, getting real excited. She's like, we have ice cream trucks, we have this, we have that. So she's all in, she's sold. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's go to the next place. We get to the next daycare, and it's like night and day. It's an old building. When the time we pull up, it's an old building. The grass and stuff hasn't been cut. This place was referred to me by 2 people, mind you, 2 people, because of the business has been around for a while, and the owner, I will say, the owner was very, very, very nice. Just very peaceful in there. She's very nice, very sweet. So anyhow, we go into the second place. It's older, visibly older from the outside, visibly older in the inside. We go inside. Immediately, my son wants to take his shoes off. He does not go any place and take his shoes off. I'm like, put your shoes back on, because we're waiting to go back to the room to tour it. I'm like, put your shoes back on. So he's like, it's a home, it's a home, because the place is set up and looks like a house from the outside, but it's a commercial building. I'm like, put your shoes on. Anyhow, so he keeps his shoes on. He has Crocs on. He keeps them on. And then they invite us to the back. We walk to the back, and there's only 8 kids in the class. So immediately, he wants to go to the toys and start playing. So I'm like, no, you can't touch this stuff. We're just here looking. We're touring. I'm trying to explain that to him. And then the teacher in that class was like, oh no, he can get down. He can play with the stuff. I'll just wipe everything down, later. So he starts playing. I'm talking to the teacher for like 20 minutes. She was really young, very young, sweet. And she is in college studying early childhood education. And so she was telling me how much she loves kids and, what she teaches them. She's going through her curriculum. Just so nice and so sweet. I look out into the backyard where the kids would play, and obviously, as I mentioned before, the grass was very very high, and I'm like, well, did the kids go outside and play? Because my son likes to go outside, like he wants to be outside. And she was like, oh, well, they get bit by mosquitoes a lot, and sometimes I'll take them out early in the morning, but then it's too hot. And so I'm like, oh gosh, I'm looking outside like, well, how can they go out there when the grass is that hot? There's no way they're going out there. So, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, crossing this place off the list. This place is definitely crossed off. He can't even go outside. So anyhow, we're still talking to the teacher. My son's still playing, he's laughing, having himself a good time. And it's like 20 minutes have gone by. So I tell him, okay, like we have to go. I tell the teacher, thank you so much for all the information. The owner comes back in there. She's talking to me. I'm like, okay, we got to go. Anyhow, my son did not want to leave. I had to pull him out of there. And I was like, okay, put the stuff down. He's like, 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes, please, please. I'm like, no, put the stuff down. Let's go. So we start walking out. The owner's talking to us. She's giving us more information about the school. And I'm like, okay, we'll be in touch. So anyhow, we walk out, and my daughter was like, oh my gosh, like, what school do you think is better? I'm like, be quiet. I said, we'll talk about it when we get into the car. So we get into the car, and I was like, let's not say anything. Wait till we get back home. So my daughter was like, well, we have to ask. We have to ask Augie, that's my son. We have to ask him what he thought about the school. So she asked him, do you like the first school or the second school? He says, the second one. So she asked him again, no, I don't think you understand. Do you like the first one with like the fire truck and the elephant, with the pictures, the little slide in the backyard? Or do you like the second one? He says, the house, the second one. So she asked him a third time, no, I don't, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Do you like? And so again, he says the second one. So I'm like, what in the world? And so I'm trying to really process what what did he like about the school? Did he just like that it was smaller? Did he just like that? Obviously, it was very loving in there, very caring. The teacher was so sweet. The owner was so sweet, but it was night and day from the first place we saw. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, what did he like about, like, what was he drawn to? Was it just the aspect of it being less kids? Was it the aspect of the teacher, it being a smaller room, and the teacher just being so sweet and like attentive? Like, what drew him to that versus the bells and the whistles? Because I was looking at the bells and the whistles, although I was off put by the number of kids. The first place had. I'm like, that's way too many. He can't. That's just way too many kids. That's ridiculous. So that place was already, having like an alarm in my head. But aesthetically, I mean, it's a way, way better looking place. And so I'm still trying to process what he felt, what my son felt, and he can't fully communicate it, right? Because he's not, he'll be 3 next month. But what was so appealing to him about the second place? Because it's like, it'll be different from like going from a Ritz Carlton to like a probably 2-star hotel. You know what I mean? But that's when I thought about, is daycare one really about care? um, some of them, are they really about care, or is it about getting numbers in the seats? Obviously, everything's a business, so they have to make money. Is it about getting numbers in the seats or really caring for the kids, right? And I think the second place, I think that he knew that they actually cared. They cared about the kids. They actually really, really were invested in the kids. And despite the aesthetics, despite the grass being high and the building being older, my daughter is worried about they have bugs in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much. Despite the building and stuff being older, I think he recognized the spirit of care versus him being a number in the first place, in the first daycare. And I think as a parent, sometimes we are drawn to the bells and the whistles because, right, we want our kids to be in a place where we're comfortable with them being. And of course, some places nice. And so we're drawn to the bells and the whistles. But sometimes I think it's also important to figure out what our kids are drawn to, what is like being a magnet to them. And so I'm still praying about the daycare I'm gonna go look at some others because honestly, I'm not moved by either one at this point, although I still think the first one was beautiful. And if they could come down on those number of kids, we may be able to work something out. And the second one, I'm also open to revisiting and going back to, as long as my husband's open to going, because he didn't go the first time. If he's open to going and visiting, I will be okay with that. So yeah, I just wonder, like, have you had that experience? What do you look for in daycares? Have you chose something in your mind and your kid picked the exact opposite that didn't have everything aesthetically that you thought it should have? Or you feel like it's a not even a step down because that's like kind of offensive, but you know what I mean, like something that just doesn't have the bells and the whistles, something that just is like, okay, they're holding on. They've been in business for a long time. They're holding on. You know what I mean? Like they are holding on to what they got. They're maintaining, but that's about it. There's not going to be no extra. It's not going to be no whole bunch of beautiful stuff in the backyard. It's not going to be nothing fancy on the walls inside the place, but it's going to be a place of love. So choosing between the two, have you had to choose between something that looks good on the outside but may not have the peace and the emotional connection that your kid may gravitate towards too? I would love to hear your thoughts because I'm trying to process this. I'm trying to figure out the best place for him where I'll be comfortable, where he'll be at during the day. So let me know your thoughts. We'd love to hear it.